Greetings. Many years ago, when I was still at the director level, I was made the director over the billing department of two different hospitals. So I basically had to drive back and forth between these two hospitals. They were about 15, 17 miles apart from each other. So it was an easy drive. And the thing is that for the most part, I really had to just deal with people, at least early on. And we were using pretty close to the same computer system. So one of the issues that they seem to have is that they were unable to post payments the same way that my hospital could do. And so I kept going down there and I would meet with these people over and over. And I would say, well, how come you can't do this? They would just say, well, we can't do it, which is not an answer. But when you're asking people the same thing over and over, they're going to give you the exact same answer. But we could do it. So one day I'm down there and I said, you know what? I know this can be done. Let me try it. So I go into it and I try to do the thing because I knew how to do everybody's job and it didn't work. I said, well, this is strange. I mean, we have the exact same system. How come it's not working? They say, well, it's never worked for us. I said, well, how has it never worked for you? And one of them says, well, it could be because we haven't updated our system since 1991. And this was 1999, early 1999, before we had to worry about upgrading it to beat, well, the millennial issues. If y'all remember, you know, when you're crossing from 1999 to 2000, everyone was changing everything because we didn't know what was going to happen. So that was the first day where I heard we hadn't updated the system. I said, wait, you hadn't updated your system since 1991? I says, no, you've gone almost 8 years without updating your system, as far as we know. So I decided to go down to talk to IT, which is strange because I never thought about talking to IT. Why would I think about talking to them? Well, because it's a computer thing. So I go down to talk to them and I said, so I understand that the billing system hasn't been updated since 1991. The guy says, yep, you're right, it hasn't. I said, why not? He said, well, because the previous administration didn't want to pay for it. They thought that everything was going to work just fine. I said, but there's been all kind of changes now. Now we get electronic payments. Things are put in automatically. I said, you can, get all this information so you can track all the numbers, the dollars and whatever. I said, we can't do any of that. And he says, well, I didn't know that was anything you had to do, which of course now makes sense because he wasn't part of the billing. He was just the guy, the IT guy. So I had to now go to the administrator and say, do you know that they haven't updated the software for this particular hospital since 1991? He says, what? I heard that they had updated the system. I said, no, they didn't update the system. It turns out they updated the accounts payable system. So they updated the accounting system, but they didn't update the billing system. The billing people were the ones who brought in the money. No wonder y'all were messed up. You took care of the accounting part so that you could set up budgets and everything else, but you didn't take care of the side that is actually got to bring in the money so you can run the show. So I was frustrated. I wasn't going to get to update it because we were going to be having a totally new computer system come in by September, which didn't go as well as planned, but that's not anything I had to do with. But, it pointed out something to me at that time that I have remembered for all these years, which is if you're in leadership, you can keep asking the exact same question over and over, and the people might not know how to answer it. And you're stuck unless you can find another way to ask the question or go to someone else and ask them the question. Because I had no idea how to re-ask the question. And they just kept saying it doesn't work. And that never is a good answer. You can't fix anything. You can't, come up with a new solution. There's just nothing you can do. Sometimes you can ask the questions and not get a single answer. And if this had been the hospital I was used to, because I did a lot of things with the computer system on my hospital, I would have figured it out. But I couldn't figure this out because even though we were using the same thing, because theirs hadn't been updated for 8 years, it wasn't the same thing anymore. It's like, oh my goodness. And probably, had I thought about it, I should have gone to IT and asked them first, because the IT at my place would have already told me that ahead of time. So, sometimes you just are lost as a leader. You just don't really know how to get there. You can keep asking the questions, and if you keep getting the same answer, there's no one else to go to. There was no other administrator. I could ask the billing people, but the billing people didn't know anything about the cashier area, so they couldn't answer that question. All the leadership that was there previously, they were all gone. Boy, that was tough. But, like I said, come September, actually closer to November, we got the system that was needed so that we could get the folks trained on something that was new that we could use to go forward. But it was an ugly time period between that and getting the new system, because what can you do? I was being asked for information I couldn't give because they didn't have the software to produce the reports I needed to be able to give them any accurate answers. Sometimes it's just how it is. You know what? Leaders can't fix everything when they don't know the answers. And if you're asking the people and they can't tell you the answer, you've got to try to find something else, or you're just stuck. And there was no workaround for me. I mean, obviously, even after IT told me they hadn't updated anything, there's no workaround. You're just stuck with it. You can't fix everything, at least until you get something totally brand new. It's a terrible lesson to learn, but it's an important lesson to learn, because I've always thought I could fix everything, and that was the first time in a leadership position when I couldn't fix something. Man, I didn't take it well, but I got over it, because what are you going to do? Let me know. Have you ever had any situations like this, and what did you do? Did you run into the exact same thing I did, or did you actually eventually find a way to get people to give you an answer? I'd love to know your thoughts. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I hope you all have a wonderful week.